first Summit event. I am so excited to talk to you a little bit about AI today with my pals. I'll toss it over to Brian and we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about.
All right, welcome to this episode of AWS on Air. My name is Brian Terry, and I'm a senior solution architect in the marketplace space. And if this is your first time seeing AWS on Air, we're happy that you're here. So we're joined here with my good friend, John, and today we're going to talk about AI stuff. So I'll let John introduce himself.
Hey, thanks, David. So my name is John Rouse. I drive global business development for AI services, supporting content moderation use case. And today we're going to talk a little bit about sort of creating a safe online environment, so how to protect your brand and also to minimize moderation costs.
Super cool. And then we're going to talk about how to do this with AI. So I'm super geeking out and excited about this. So let's kick it off.
Okay, so this is interesting. And I was sort of very surprised when I saw this. So over 80% of all web content today is user-generated content. So that definitely you can see the user-generated content era is here. And it's ranging from social media, gaming, online forums, even photo sharing websites, and even on e-commerce, where companies are struggling to deal with the sudden increase in volume and complexity of costs associated to content moderation.
I see. What are some ways that they're dealing with that?
So we're going to talk about in a second how they're starting to use artificial intelligence to streamline and automate those processes on there. And one last thing, and I'll dive into a second, one last thing I just wanted to share is that, for when consumers make decisions, over 79% are all influenced by user-generated content. So here, just to get you, Danny, sort of a little bit of, so what are our companies doing, to sort of deal with the volume, the complexity and costs? So they're turning to artificial intelligence or AI, machine learning, ML, and deep learning to gain that accuracy and efficiency needed to keep online environments, customers and information safe while reducing that moderation cost. So as people might know, human-based content moderation alone cannot scale to meet the operational needs on there. And I'm sure everyone, the goal is to improve a safe line environment, reduce that moderation cost. And as we were talking a little bit earlier today, Danny, is, companies are really looking to do something well for the good of all people. So here's one other really interesting stat. As user-generated content is growing substantially, over 50% of people are creating content at least once daily. It's a large population. I have 2 kids, and I have one that the phone is glued to her hand on a daily basis, so I'm sure she's helping with those statistics. As well as, consumers, have stated that, brands need to protect users from toxic content. And they're saying that it's brand's responsibility to provide a positive and a welcoming online experience out there. And one last thing, David and Danny, this is really important, is that more than 40% of consumers that have responded to a survey said they will disengage from a brand's community after as little as one toxic or fake user-generated content experience. I know myself, I was on an e-commerce platform recently shopping to buy something. And before I decided to press purchase, I wanted to look at the product reviews. I was going through them, and most of them were pretty positive until I went to one, and there was a very inappropriate picture being posted, and I almost fell off my chair. And so immediately, the first thing was to turn off that site, and I ended up never going back there again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's especially bad when it's unexpected like that, and it just kind of blindsides you. So yeah, I can relate to that. It's unfortunate that they lost a customer too, right? Because it's not something that they produce as a brand; it's a user that put that there, right?
Right. So I want to get a little personal with you and David for a second. So have you ever been exposed to any toxic content while you're maybe on your favorite social media platform or a photo sharing site, or even online shopping?
Brian, have you ever experienced that before out of curiosity or?
Of course. I mean, it's the internet, it's the
Yeah.
Wild Wild West, right?
Yeah, it's the wild, wild west. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know I have. So yeah, John, for sure.
Yeah, and then just sort of, with that, how did that, change your perception of that product, or depending on where you're at, did it make you decide not to go back again, or were you afraid to maybe post something later on?
Yeah, I'm assuming it, it has, changed my decisions on specific things when that happens. And I'm sure just like, other people that are watching this right now, I'm sure
Yeah.
you too.
Totally. And John, I think it's the same thing that you experienced, right? When you saw that picture when you're trying to buy something, like it's unexpected, and so there's just an immediate revulsion to it, and then you probably never go back and shop there again, right? Just because you're like, okay, that place is a little stained in my memory.
Yeah. So here's just showing. I just wanted to show. So here's an example of a person playing a video game. It looks like she's having a great time with her friends, right? Interacting, which we want to see out there. And then, unfortunately, here's another person. She's on her social media platform, and you can see that, she's frustrated and not happy. She's being exposed to some toxic content.
Yeah.
And then here's another one. Maybe this is when we were younger playing video games, but here's a very frustrated gamer, and he's sort of taking it out and throwing his controller out there. And so, the big thing is, how would you feel, as a parent or even a close relative or even a good friend, if you knew that, one of your loved ones was being affected by harmful content online, right? It might not just be once, it might be multiple times, out there. And if so, how did you handle it? So at the end is, all we want is, and I think most companies do, is everyone wants to provide a space where users feel safe to go to and feel safe to interact with each other.
Yeah, and it's a concern for parents, right? It's a concern for everybody. Yeah.
So I just want to then dive a little bit around AWS and AI. So from our AI and ML stack, we're innovating on behalf of all of our customers, right, to deliver the broadest and deepest set of machine learning capabilities for builders of all levels of expertise. So with content moderation, or specifically Amazon content moderation, it sits at the top layer of the stack under AI services, and which allows then developers to easily add intelligence at any application without needing any ML skills, which is awesome. So we have some pre-trained APIs that I'm highlighting in the diagram right there. And one is Amazon Rekognition, Amazon Transcribe, Amazon Comprehend, and Amazon Translate. They provide API models that are ready-to-made intelligence for your application and workflows that help you do things like automatically detect content across different media types. And those media types could be analyzing images and video, or transcribing audio, or translating text, all without requiring machine learning expertise out there, as well as you have the ability to customize the variety depending on your specific needs.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So can we launch a service for this specifically called Amazon Brain Bleach? Is that a possible?
Possibly, maybe out there. So anything's possible. So here is this highlight, just giving you an overview of the content moderation on it. And so with the billions of people, actively uploading and posting content on a daily basis, content moderation, it's fundamentally in protecting online communities, their members, and also your members' personal information. You might get things like, hey, share with me your phone number or your address, to a site where you might think is legit, but most times it's not. So with content moderation, you can automate those images, video, text, and audio workflows with our AWS AI services to moderate that unwanted content and protect that sensitive information. And over on the left side, I'm highlighting a few of the key industries for user-generated content. And the first is, social media, where, people are looking to prevent user exposure to, say, inappropriate content of a photo or even video sharing platforms. So that could be from your user profile you're setting up to interacting with people, and you join a community site and you're uploading images. You want to make sure that they meet your guidelines on there. And another is e-commerce, and we just talked sort of about that a few minutes ago, where companies are looking to keep out that illegal or controversial product listings that might violate their compliance policies. And unfortunately, it could turn to the liability to the buyer or seller churn, where we mentioned I had left a site that I was going to buy something on. And then we have advertising, where companies are looking to avoid associations that increase the risk of public backlash due to their unwanted association for a brand. So it could be around brand placement in an area that you don't want your company, your logo to be associated with out there. Or if you're running a streaming service and you're implementing ads, you want to make sure that those ads are age specific towards your offering that you have today. And then last, I'll just touch bases around gaming, where in the gaming industry, people are looking to prevent that inappropriate images and content such as hate speech, profanity, and even bullying within in-game chat.
Very interesting.
So here, then, we just talked about for a second ago, sort of around the AI ML stack within AWS, and here is just showing bringing it all together with our services. So, as I mentioned, you might be familiar, some might be familiar with the AI services out there, and then you can implement sort of this multimodal, content moderation solution at a very low cost on it. So here, sort of addressing, customers' needs around. You're going to need possibly a combination of computer vision, text, and language, and other AI and ML capabilities to really efficiently moderate and increase that influx of user-generated content and sensitive information. So this highlighting how Rekognition can help out on moderating images and video. We have Amazon Translate that can help with localizing content, making sure profanity words are removed, and then Amazon Transcript, like we're here, we're talking, and maybe someone, if there's a recording of this, someone might want to look at, hey, are there inappropriate words being discussed here, and give the ability for people to, do they want to redact it or not, depending on if their customer base is younger or older on it. And then we have just highlighting our comprehend, sort of that sentiment analysis. And then at the end of the day, there's always going to be typically a human that might review some of that content, that 1% or 3% at the end, just to make sure that the content is going to be exposed or not exposed to their users.
I think what I find interesting about this is on that slide, you show that it can look at various different content, anything from text, the pictures,
yes,
and audio. And this is, I think this is a really cool way of moderating all of those platforms at one central point. I mean, awesome.
Right, because you might have situations where people are just posting, say, images, and then there might be something where people are posting audio and might be voice to it or singing a song, and you want the ability, one, to see, hey, is there any appropriate images in that video content, as well as what about if there's any toxic content being said in it.
Yeah. What I find interesting about it too is that there's so many different applications to this, right? Like you could start to figure out how to flag content as, general audience accepted, right? PG-13. So it gives businesses a lot of different ways of navigating their relationship to their users and making sure that it's relevant to them and interesting to them and appropriate for them most of all, right?
Yeah, let me just show you. I'm glad you brought that up. Let me just show you. I saved one extra slide just to show you. Here are some of the things. So people might wonder, what are categories that people are looking to moderate today?
Oh, cool.
And yeah, and I thought it was very interesting on it. And so here's showing, we have, the ability to detect inappropriate content in images and video across, we call 10 top level categories. So some of the more, unfortunately, popular ones is explicit nudity, suggestive, you have violence, You have as well drugs, tobacco, alcohol. So depending on, right, if your platform is age specific for kids, under the age of 12, you probably want to make sure that there's no alcohol, tobacco, or nudity on it.
Right.
Or right, or if you're in maybe a dating app, and it's for people over the age of 21, there might be some things that are okay with you, but you can flag them on there.
Hmm.
And then you can break it down even further and sort of that second level category. So within, let's just say within explicit nudity, you could say, hey, it's nudity, or is it a male nudity on there? And suggestive, it could be a partial person that's nude or bare chested male or female. And then the other is around alcohol. It could be drinking alcoholic beverages. So it's letting you know and giving you the ability to decide what is going to be appropriate and not. So we're not making the decisions for you. We're letting you make that decision by us highlighting that and giving a confidence score on these different categories.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's all these categories already available, so people don't have to reinvent the flat tire there. Do you have any examples of this that you could show us? Just that way we can kind of map it mentally.
I would love to show you an example or two.
Great.
So here's just, I'm just gonna, some of the two examples I'm gonna show, it might be around weapons or drinking or and so on. So just wanted to highlight some of the category levels that I might show you in a second. So here's the first one. Here is for like say a marketplace or e-commerce where they want to see if they can detect any inappropriate or offensive content that our images are being uploaded into their platform. So here's showing in this image, it's detecting a purse. You can see a handgun is partially visible.
Yeah.
So within our moderation API, there's a response saying, within our model, the content moderation, our recent update called V6, that in the parent, it was like, hey, we're detecting violence. And then on a secondary category level, it's weapons and violence. And then from a confidence score, we're showing you that we're 90% accurate that it is a handgun in that image. And then one of the other things is Rekognition has some different APIs as well. And I'm going to show you now, we're using a bounding box around this image. And also we're able to let you know, and this might be important to certain companies, is, what are the things, objects in that image? So where I'm showing right now is that, hey, we can detect there's a firearm there with confidence. There's a finger, there's a hand, and we know that, hey, there's a person and a gun. So depending on, what platform you're on, you want to know that, hey, is it a human, person in that, not maybe an avatar? And, where is the gun, in that image? So that's one. So let me just show you one other one, a little bit maybe more exciting. And this could be for, online communities, even like social media or a dating app too, where here's someone that uploaded a profile of themselves. And we ran it through the models, and all of a sudden it's highlighting that, hey, within our top level categories under alcohol, it's showing that, the name is drinking, that we believe, someone's drinking in that image. And we're giving a confidence score of 91%. And so now let's just say, it could be two scenarios. Let's just say you're a alcoholic beverage manufacturer, or you're or not, or it's something that's going towards a adolescent show, but it's showing that, hey, there's a glass there's a beer. Maybe that beer manufacturer is good with that. They want to promote that, or they want to know that someone's uploading that image. It's giving you that, hey, there's a beverage in there. But some other interesting things are, hey, there's tattoos on that person and he's male. So from that social media, maybe from advertising, people might be looking at, these types of images that are being posted, and is it relevant for them to maybe place an ad because maybe there's a lot of people uploading pictures of beer, holding beer, or maybe even tattoos on them.
John, this is super exciting, and this is really awesome, and I'm super excited to see this just kind of an API point. You get a response. I know we only have a few moments left here in the show. Can you talk a little bit about how people can get started using this technology?
Sure. It's actually pretty easy. It's because it's an API driven, service. Let me just go back one slide. I should have had that at the end, but it's easy. You can go, there's right here, we have a barcode where you can take your phone and take a picture of it, but you can go to our, either our Amazon Rekognition page or AWS's content moderation page. And there's section for, build with us. So you can build it yourself, as well as, let's just say you don't have the resources internally. We have many partners that can help, one, to develop help you develop a solution, or we already have customers or partners that have prepackaged solutions where you can be able to start right away by using one of their solutions as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much, John. It's been great chatting with you about AI. I've learned a lot, and it's just been an awesome experience. How about you, Danny?
Yeah, no, I learned a lot about this. I'm really excited to go try out Amazon Rekognition myself.
All right.
Thank you.